share
介绍一下。OK， 所以下面一个议程会以英文进行。Okay, following speech will be given in English. So, as we know, the world's leading tech company are now racing toward an AI that borders on human. Some people may refer to this as artificial general intelligence, which means AGI. In any case, to really build an intelligence machine, a fundamental question has to be addressed. What is intelligence? So our next speaker, Shaka Chen, the CEO of Libgirl Corporation, has been working to detach the principle of intelligence from various angles and to make it as an open collaboration project. Okay, please welcome Shaka.
My name is Shaka Chen, and you can call me Shaka, as the Hawaii sign Shaka. Hawaiian sign you can search on the internet. Okay, so my topic today first is introducing the collaboration wiki site, principlesofIntelligence.org. You can scan the QR code for this wiki site. I just launched it in order to be the portal of principles of intelligence. Second, I will introduce my initiated content on this website. From my junior high school age, I wonder, like many people ever did, what is me? What is my consciousness? Why can I think? Can I create a mind? How to create a mind? I started to read books about brains and neuroscience. I encountered the same confusion as Jeff Hawkins did. Jeff Hawkins is the co-founder of Numenta, another AGI company. In his book on intelligence, he wrote about his frustration that he couldn't find a book providing a unified theory of intelligence. Instead, neuroscience and psychology have been produced many fragments of research results. He can look for systematic understanding on physics, chemistry, mathematics, and electronics, but he had never found one for intelligence. I couldn't either. I even don't buy in the theory in Jeff Hawkins' book on intelligence. My footage went from neuroscience, computer science, AI, mathematics, philosophy, Buddhism, to startup and business. Startup and business, for I know AI means robot or intelligence solver instead of a fundamental science. So I think I also have to participate or do startup and business activity. In philosophy, I found Ludwig Wittgenstein. In psychology, I studied Carl Jung. Until last November, I felt I got my systematic answer about what is intelligence, how it works. That is the principles of intelligence I have been seeking. I believe many researchers and AI experts are still looking for principles of intelligence, and I know some already have their own answers. Now I have my own answer. It's time to discuss. Then I recall the problem Jeff Hawkins and I encountered. There isn't a knowledge portal for principles of intelligence. Since I have my own answer now, it's time to share, discuss, and many people might need a portal like I needed before. So I launched this website, principlesofIntelligence.org, to satisfy the two purposes at the same time. Okay, so this is the home page, and skip the home page. We directly go into the content. The big picture principles of intelligence. Most of the things written, of course, I'm not the finder. I am the integrator putting them together. Now in one page. First, what is intelligence? We all have learned the word intelligence and have known how to use the word. Thus, we all know about what intelligence is, actually. This is the application of Wittgenstein philosophy. For many definition or description, why we say it makes sense after hearing it. You can recall when you hear or listen to a description, and after you or definition. After you hear the definition, you feel, oh, that makes sense. Why? Because actually you already know it. So you can say it makes sense. And why you still feel confusing? Because maybe we just don't know how to sum them up, even though we already know it. Here's my concise description about what intelligence is. Intelligence is the ability to do preparation and take actions to meet various behavioral requirements. Since the behavioral requirements are context sensitive and have variation that is quite uncertain, general intelligence is a valid terminology on such uncertainty of requirements. I argue it is valid because, for example, Yang LeCun, he mentioned in his Twitter that there is no general intelligence. He said human intelligence is very narrow, and there is only human level intelligence. But I think general intelligence is still a valid terminology because we have to face, and machine has to face, uncertainty of requirements. So general is still a valid term. We can also further say general intelligence is the ability to prepare, to adapt to the variety of measurements of intelligence. Because every people have different measurement for intelligence in different contexts. Okay, there are some keywords: preparation, adaptation, and various requirements. Intelligence needs three of them. In contrast, evolution can achieve adaptation, but it cannot do preparation. Immune system can adapt, but only for immune. It cannot do other things other than fighting virus or bacteria. And for preparation, our body accumulates fat as energy preparation. So intelligence needs all of the three: preparation, adaptation, and to adapt to various requirements. Okay, so does it make sense? If you think it's tricky, because I think the sense of intelligence is facing various of situations. It's naturally lead to impossibility of consensus. So I have here, so that's why I have one of the description that general intelligence is the ability to prepare, to adapt to variety of measurements of intelligence. Okay, so there's another way to define or describe intelligence. I wrote in requirements of general intelligence. You can check the page if you like. So I continue. How does general intelligence work? Firstly, general intelligence is always collective intelligence. A biological nervous system consists of neurons as well as neural groups. Neurons are individual. Their brains the brains of the neurons, is the collective. Similarly, our human species is a collective intelligence. All of us are learning and developed upon collective knowledge or human knowledge. We are individuals, and we also are the collective. Therefore, to understand how general intelligence works, we have to keep in mind that the ubiquitous collective individual relationships. And there are some benefits about this dependency, collective individual dependency. First is functional specialization, and second, parallel activities. The third, switching states of individuals can lead to combinatorial explosion. Such combinatorial explosion is good for creativity and producing potential solutions. Some researcher like Goya, he's from Joshua Benjo's lab. He tried this method with independent neural groups as individuals. Next, individual difference provide risk management, risk distribution for collective. And individual loss is affordable. We are cheap. I mean, we as individual, we are cheap to die or anything, to failure, we are cheap to the collective. And if we succeed, we succeed to adaptive to some ever-changing measurement of intelligence, then our knowledge can feed back to the human collective. And the human collective can protect and nurture individual. Okay, now there is communication and unification problem given the collective individual relationship. That's why we have consciousness. Our consciousness is the result of unification for our neurons or our body. And that's why we have language ability. It's for communication in group of people. Communication and unification means reaching consensus and lacking of consensus. So all topics of intelligence, we have to consider the human social consensus and lacking of consensus. Next, we'll start from personal consciousness, then we continue to collective individual interaction. Finally, we'll go to micromechanism, which is neural level in human cases, or artificial neural network in AI's cases. Personal consciousness in brief. Okay, concept. The first one is to introduce concept. In Wikipedia's definition, concepts are defined as abstract idea and building block of thoughts. I added more to it. A concept is a set of fuzzy information packs from multimodal signal sources. We humans learn concepts by associating information of the context. For example, flower shape, flower smell, flower color, and social expression about passion. All of these materials are associated to be a concept. Most of the time, the building blocks we can think of are things we know from the past. Most of the time, the elementary concept, the building block, we learn from the past. And the next is abstraction. Carl Jung defined abstraction as a psychological process that a people, blind one's eyes to distinctiveness of individual things in favor of their general similarity, And I take this definition. Let's recall all topics of intelligence. We have to consider human social consensus and lacking of consensus. So let me rewrite what is abstraction. Abstraction process is then the subjectively seeing things as the same one. It's subjective because all of things should go through human consensus or lacking of consensus. In the real world, no observation is purely objective. So abstraction has to be subjective in the real world. Then let's go to the next. Concept perception and abstraction. Concept perception is about how a concept pops up into your mind. Perceiving a concept is an abstraction process. That means we recall that abstraction process is objectively seeing things as the same one. Concept perception is then, during some long enough time interval, the subjectively recognizing the fuzzy information segments into something the same. The something the same is one perceived concept in our mind. Whereas we should remind ourselves that those fuzzy information segments can be perceived as multiple different concepts in other contexts, because abstraction is subjective. Okay, then we go to one of the core problems. What is consciousness? The continuum of all information segments that a person can be conscious of as concepts is the person's consciousness. This explanation is similar to William James' stream of consciousness. It's also similar to Descartes' I think, therefore I am. But I am a Buddhist. For a Buddhist, who we are don't have to buy into thinking. I'll rewrite it as I think, therefore I am conscious of. Remember that in most of the cases, a concept is a pack of some past experience. This tells us a person's consciousness is the result of the brain continuously integrating past experience as well as current perception into a unified one. We can think in, we can examine in our self mind. All of your past is in your reach. How does that happen? All of your past you can think of. Or what phenomenon is it like? It's like time squeezing, right? It's like squeezing all of your past into now. And time squeezing all you can think to now. By that, you think you are the same you. I am the past I is the same because your brain, your neurons, integrating all of your experience together to now of you within your reach. So this is your consciousness. The unification integrating all the past experience enables a person the ability to recognize unbounded length of context precursors. For unbounded length of context precursors, you can click the link to check the details. But in short, it's about things happen a very, very long time ago can affect how you perceive the situation at the moment. This is a description to reject those machine learning or AI methodologies which only consider limited context windows. For example, hidden Markov models or classical transformer. I say classical transformer because there is some exception like transformer extra large or maybe AxleNet. There is some recurrent structure inside those transformers, so they are not limited to limited context windows. Okay, so again, the unbounded length of context precursors is to reject the machine learning or AI methodology like I mentioned. But the side effect of personal consciousness is that we easily get trapped in past experiences, whether it is a good or bad thing. Okay, so I skip attention. Thinking and concept. As concepts are the building blocks of the thought, we think using concept. So the active or passive changings of this concept in our mind, we call it thinking. Does it make sense? We all use the words concept and thinking, and actually we already know it. Okay, so how do we apply past experience to face new conditions? When there are some perceptual materials, a person recognizes them as some combination of concepts. Abstracting new perceptual materials into a combination of concepts that corresponds to hierarchical composition of past experiences. We can react, by doing so, we can react to new conditions according to the past experience. For example, in home, you're feeling hot, maybe you put off your shirt. When sweating, you wipe your body. Both habits you formed in the past. Then it can be the cases that you feel hot and you sweat. So you put off your shirt and wipe your body using your shirt. So this is an example how we apply past experience into new conditions. It's a kind of combinatorial explosion, as I mentioned. So what is planning? Planning is just thinking for future action using concept combination. Then the next will connect the 5 concepts at one time: thinking, association, correctness, reasoning, and inference. This is their relationship. Thinking is the process that the combination of concepts is changing at the moment or in our mind. Thinking without considering correctness is association, free association, right? Rational thinking is a way of association that is based on its correctness. And rational thinking, we call it reasoning. If a thinking is rational, we call it reasoning. References are steps in reasoning. Okay, so does it make sense? We can recall what we know about these words already. I just put them together. But notice, correctness is a social consensus and lacking of social consensus. So it comes from education, culture, and some innate concepts. So judgment, the next one is judgment, or we can say decision making. So decision making is about deleting some contradictory concept in our mind when we are thinking. For example, thinking about concept like go left or go right, we cannot execute both of them together. So we have to delete one of it. By delete the one of it, then we make the decision, as long as the concept can correspond to taking action. The linkage between a concept in the mind and certain action is either instinct or being formed by associative learning. Okay, until here is how a personal consciousness works from concept, consciousness, attention, thinking to decision making. And since the time is limited, so I'll skip the whole section about collective individual interaction and go to the micro layer, because I think we would like to know the neural network layer, right? Okay, so realization of personal individual learning and adaptation. I hope if you are interested in principles of intelligence, still find the time to go back to the collective individual relationships. I mean the previous section I skipped. Okay, I skipped here. Yes, but let's, okay, I skipped here, but let's continue the infrastructural or lower level issue. Yes. Brains are dynamical system. The dynamical system concept is a mathematical formalization for any rules which describe the time dependency of a point's position in its ambient space. And brains, our human brains, are dynamical systems because state of a brain is time dependent, right? And as far as I know, brains are dynamical systems is the consensus by system neuroscientists. And classical artificial neural network without recurrent structure is not time dependent, right? Because if there's no recurrent structure, then any artificial neural network, there's no time. It's just a function. And attractors in a dynamical system can form distributed and discriminative mental states. And these mental states or internal states, if it's a robot or a computational system, we say internal state. We say a mental state or internal state is related to a concept instead of directly representing a concept. By this way of description, we can escape from the lacking of consensus on concept. Because even for the concept chair, people won't have consensus. The normal case of chair, maybe we have consensus. But in complicated context, for example, an art piece, an artwork, we don't have consensus about what a chair is. Or maybe is a big stone a chair? If there's a big stone, you can sit down, is it a chair? Do we have consensus? I'm not sure about it. I'm not sure about it. But by saying internal state is related to a concept, we can avoid from the problem about having to reaching consensus about what specific concept is. we all can have our own mental states or internal state which are related to chair and be different. And state changes between attractors can demonstrate concept inference. That is, some attractors work as conditioners which affects how other dimensional states change. As long as giving the dynamical system long enough time, the concept reasoning can take arbitrarily many steps of inference. The arbitrarily many steps of inference is important because, as I mentioned, general intelligence requires unbounded length of contextual information. The next one is associative learning. We humans learn a concept by associating information segments that appear at the same moment. Associative learning is about remembering parts of information, so part of the information can recall other associating information. For example, when a person smells a flower's odor, he or she can think of the name of the shape. And a person learns an association in his or her past experience. And associative learning can be implemented by STDP algorithm. An STDP algorithm is spike time dependent plasticity. It's a fundamental or general algorithm in especially computational neuroscience or spiking neural network. So the next topic is generalization, because nowadays machine learning and AI encounter a big problem about how to reach good generalization. And in my point of view, generalization requires recurrent structure, looping structure, because generalization is about we find something repeated. We find a repeated pattern. So the real generalization, I think we really need looping structures. For example, exclusive OR concept, especially an arbitrarily long binary string, should be only possible with looping the process which computes exclusive OR on strings under some constant length. Okay, so we can think other example. And attractors in dynamical system with arbitrarily long time, a state can stay in attractors are the mentioned loopers which can do good generalization. And I think STDP can be the universal associative learning model for neuroplasticity, and there's some material you can check. Okay, so time limitation. So above should be, you can read more about the detail, but it's kind of the infrastructure mechanism required for personal individual learning and adaptation, including AGI, I think. Of course, the brain area interaction, network structure, parameter tuning, behavioral training, they are much more to do. Okay, so my next step, I will refine a bit more on the content of this wiki, and I will also refine the website stability, and then I will start to send a link to experts from of various domains. or maybe post this website on Reddit or Hacker News. And I have to plan a way of management, maintenance, and finance. And then I will implement or open social login and comments functionality. The final one is open co-edit functionality according to the way of management. And sorry. The help I need some suggestion about establishing rules for co-edit and comments and content management on the wiki. We also need contributors interested on being editors or website maintainers. And this is my contacts, Shaka, and my email. Thank you.
Okay. 那现场有人有问题吗 ？OK。哦。
就是刚才有提到很多关于智能的一些概念上的东西，那有没有就是一些方法或可能就是可以去不管是质性或是量化质化或量化方式去衡量，就是所谓到底有没有 intelligence 这件事情，就是用一些就是有没有这样的方式，质性或或量化的方式这样子。
所以我要讲中文吗？好，我讲中文好了。就问题是说有没有质性或量化的方式来验证一个东西有没有智能？然后我的答案是，首先，就是我一直强调说，就是智能这件事情，是一个社会共识跟缺乏社会共识，所以我可以先说，任何质性跟量化的方式，一定都会有人不认同。对，那在这个前提下，我们当然还是可以做。那就是我认为最终就是那个就是做出来的机器可不可以赚钱，或有人愿不愿意买？我认为就是这样啦，就最务实就是这样嘛。有人用它就是 intelligence， 对啊。然后就是很直接，有人会用，然后在不同场合就是它可以 work， 就这样子啊。然后人数够多就这样子，对。那有没有其他问题？
不好意思，因为时间的关系，那我们就到这边，这个演讲就到这边。那感谢 Shaka， 然后大家后续还有问题的话，可以欢迎联络，用那个 Shaka 的信箱联络他。那就谢谢。
好，
OK，然后在外面。